They zip-tied my teenage daughter for wearing leggings. No arrest, no warrant. Just Karen and her fake HOA security goons. She called it community protection. I called it kidnapping. What she didn't know? I'm the state attorney general, and when I saw the files she kept on kids, on mothers, neighbors, even toddlers in chalk-drawn driveways, I didn't just get angry. I declared war. What we uncovered next? Illegal surveillance, secret code names, a fantasy militia, funded by your HOA dues. And the best part? Karen had no idea what was coming for her. You'll never guess how this ends. And trust me, she didn't see it coming either. Friday, 5:37 p.m. The sun was dipping behind the rooftops of Crestwood Lakes, casting a soft golden light on the quiet sidewalks. Emma, my daughter, 16, bright, disciplined, stepped off the community shuttle, her duffel bag slung over one shoulder, her cheeks still flushed from ballet practice. She wore her training outfit, a zip-up hoodie, black leggings, and soft canvas shoes. Nothing flashy, nothing inappropriate. Just a tired kid on her way home. Then came the screech of tires, rubber on concrete. A black golf cart swerved across the path, cutting her off like a tactical checkpoint. 3 figures in matching dark polos jumped out. Their shirts read HOA Security, though anyone with half a brain could tell they weren't real officers. No badges, no name tags, just duct-taped walkie-talkies and plastic holsters carrying clipboards like weapons. "Stop right there," the tallest one barked. Emma froze, confused. "Excuse me?" "Where are you headed?" he demanded, stepping closer. "My house. I live on Willow Street." One of them circled behind her. Another pulled out a phone and snapped a picture of her. She clutched her duffel tighter. "That outfit," the woman among them said. Short blonde hair, sunglasses at dusk, an unmistakable sneer on her face. "That violates HOA Regulation 14C. Form-fitting apparel with visible elastic seams in common areas after 5:30 p.m. is strictly prohibited." Emma blinked. "What?" That woman, the one with the icy voice, was Karen Bellamy, HOA president and self-appointed queen of purity. Karen tilted her head and smiled like a hyena. "Sweetheart, you may not realize this, but those leggings send a message. A visual disturbance. We can't have that in Crestwood Lakes." Emma stepped back. "I'm just walking home." Karen snapped her fingers. "Protocol yellow. Non-compliant minor. Containment required." Before Emma could react, the 2 men grabbed her arms. "Hey, let go of me!" They yanked her duffel bag to the ground, zipped her wrists together with a plastic tie, and dragged her toward the back of the golf cart as if she were some shoplifter at a department store. Neighbors peeked through blinds. One man held up a phone, but didn't interfere. Emma shouted, voice cracking, "Call my dad! You can't do this!" Karen leaned in, lips close to Emma's ear. "Oh, honey," she whispered. "When you're dressed like that, your rights become flexible." They shoved her into the cart, slammed the gate shut. Karen turned, straightened her clipboard, and nodded. "Crestwood is safe again." And that's when my phone rang. I was already grabbing my keys before the second ring, and I swear to God, Karen had no idea whose daughter she had just touched. I didn't drive. I charged down Willow Street like a warhead on legs, engines screaming, every red light a challenge. My hands clenched the wheel so tightly, my knuckles turned bone white. My daughter, zip-tied, by self-righteous golf cart cowboys with plastic radios and power fantasies, and Karen Bellamy, Karen, was behind it. I reached the HOA administration lot in under 4 minutes. The Community Safety Center squatted behind fake brick, the words peeling off the cheap sign. I spotted the black golf cart first, parked like a trophy kill out front. Then I saw her. Emma sat on the concrete, wrists red, mascara smudged from tears. Her duffel bag lay beside her, unzipped, its contents scattered. She looked up as I approached, and her face crumpled. "Dad!" I dropped to my knees. "You okay? Did they hurt you?" She shook her head quickly, but her voice cracked. "They tied me up, for what I was wearing." My jaw tightened, My chest burned. And then I heard it. "Well, well, you must be the father." That voice. Karen Bellamy appeared from behind the lobby door like a stage actress in a morality play. Clipboard in hand, lips curled into a smug little smile. I rose slowly, deliberately. "Untie her now." Karen blinked. "She's been processed already. We were just waiting for a parent or guardian to discuss next steps." "You assaulted a minor," I growled. "There are no next steps. There's only legal fallout." Karen scoffed. "Oh, please. No one laid a finger on her. We followed HOA procedure, Regulation 14C, approved unanimously by the board last month. She's 16. You restrained her, photographed her, and detained her without notifying a guardian. You think that holds up in court?" Karen raised her chin. "Crestwood Lakes is a private community. We have autonomy. And I am the state attorney general of this private community," I snapped. Then I pulled my badge. Karen's face twitched. The clipboard dropped half an inch. I stepped closer. "Let me be clear, Ms. Bellamy. You just zip-tied the daughter of a man who signs prosecutorial warrants with one pen and buries tyrants with the other." She tried to recover. "You should have taught her to dress more appropriately." That did it. I closed the distance in one breath. "Say another word about my daughter," I hissed, "and I'll make sure your name is etched into every case file on civil rights abuse this state has seen in the last decade." Karen's smile slipped. I turned to Emma, gently snapping the zip ties with the multi-tool on my keyring. Her wrists were raw. Karen cleared her throat. "This feels unnecessarily escalated. You haven't seen escalation yet." I straightened, tucked my badge away, and said one more thing before walking her out. "You picked the wrong girl, Karen, and the worst possible father." If seeing Karen zip-tie a teenage girl made your blood boil, drop a 9 in the comments and let's show her this community fights back. That night, I didn't sleep. I filed the emergency motion at 9:46 p.m. By 10:15, I had authorization. At 10:57, I returned to the HOA's so-called administrative annex with 2 legal aides, a deputy clerk, and a digital warrant signed by a state judge. We didn't knock. Karen was there. Of course she was. Sitting behind a faux mahogany desk like it was a throne. She didn't even stand. "You're back," she said, voice syrupy. "Did your daughter need an apology card?" I slammed the warrant on her desk. "No, but you're going to need a lawyer." Her smile didn't falter. "This is overreach. And what you did today was kidnapping." My aide began copying the server. I headed straight for the filing cabinet marked Civic Harmony Enforcement. The top drawer had folders, thick ones, color-coded tabs, labeled names: Emma Reynolds, Claire Nichols, Fatima Halim. Each file had a photo, clothing critiques, time-of-day logs. Some even had hand-drawn red circles on certain body parts. I turned to Karen, cold fury churning in my gut. "You're cataloging teenagers like they're violations? They're visual disruptions," she snapped, rising now. "Our bylaws protect community standards." I opened a drawer marked Repeat Offenders. Inside, a manila envelope labeled Target A Youth Flag Girl, another, Target C Gym Mom. Some of the photos were taken at people's backyards, at windows. I clenched my fists. "You didn't just violate decency, you obliterated it." Karen folded her arms. "Someone has to maintain order." I stepped toward her. "You think this is order? You built a perversion machine. You watched children like they were threats." Her eyes didn't blink. "Your emotional tone is noted." I leaned in. "My tone will become a headline. You think today was bad? You haven't seen what happens when I prosecute." She blinked. For the first time, she blinked. And in that second, I knew. She wasn't just arrogant. She was dangerous. And I had just torn open the first layer of rot. The room was packed. Neighbors fidgeted in folding chairs. Whispered rumors floated like smoke. "He's the Attorney General. They zip-tied his daughter. Karen has files on kids?" The HOA had called for an emergency town hall to address miscommunication. I sat near the front. Emma was at my side, chin high. Her wrists were still red. Then Karen entered. Flawless hair, clipboard, a red power blazer so sharp it could slice through steel. She stepped onto the makeshift stage like she was running for queen of something, waving, smiling, soaking up attention like a sunflower in spotlight. "Good evening, Crestwood," she said smoothly into the mic. "I know emotions have run high. I called this meeting to clear the air and realign our community values." I stood before she could continue. "You mean the values where teenage girls get restrained by grown men in golf carts?" A hush fell. Karen's eyes narrowed. "Mr. Reynolds, you've had your moment. Let's keep this civil." "Civil?" I snapped. "You stalked my daughter. You kept files on dozens of residents, photos, annotations, circle marks." Someone gasped. Karen waved a hand dismissively. "Characterization. What I have is a standardized documentation protocol designed to address aesthetic disharmony." I cut her off. "You cataloged people like zoo exhibits. You named them. Target A, Gym Mom, Youth Flag Girl." I turned to the AV team I'd brought. "Roll it." The projector lit the wall behind her. Grainy footage, black and white. A girl jumping rope in her front yard, labeled excessive movement, midriff visible. Another clip, a mother watering plants in shorts, with Karen's voice in the background. "This one refuses to tone down. Document it again." The crowd shifted, murmuring. Karen turned pale. "That footage was taken from inside private homes!" someone yelled. Karen grabbed the mic. "Those were safety audits, nothing more." "Then why were the files marked Behavior Correction Phase 2? I stepped forward, fire in my chest. "This wasn't about safety. It was about control. And your little HOA empire? It's crumbling tonight." Karen clenched her jaw. "We needed order. People don't understand boundaries anymore." "No, Karen," I snarled. "You don't. You've mistaken power for permission. And you just watched that illusion die under a damn projector." Silence. Heavy. Then. "She screamed at my daughter for wearing a Girl Scout uniform," a woman whispered. "She made me repaint my garage door 3 times, a man muttered. Karen backed away. The podium suddenly looked too tall for her. I faced the crowd. "You've been afraid to speak. I'm here now. And I promise you, this ends." Applause erupted, loud, raw, real. Karen didn't speak again that night. She just stood there, flushed, jaw tight, drowning in the truth. And the neighborhood? They weren't blinking anymore. I filed the lawsuit at 7:02 the next morning. 6 counts. Unlawful detainment of a minor, violation of civil liberties, illegal surveillance, defamation, emotional distress, and abuse of power under a homeowners association charter. I didn't file it quietly. I sent a copy to every resident's inbox. I posted it on the HOA message board, and I stapled it to the bulletin board next to the Crestwood Community Pool, right over the approved yard gnome sizes flyer. By noon, the neighborhood was buzzing. But Karen? She came out swinging. She held a press conference on the steps of the community center, flanked by 2 HOA members who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Her tone was ice in a blender. "This lawsuit is not only frivolous, it's a targeted smear campaign. I have served this neighborhood with distinction for 8 years. My record speaks for itself." I stepped forward from the crowd. "Yeah, it does. You left fingerprints on every privacy violation this community has endured." Karen locked eyes with me. "I've protected this neighborhood from chaos." I barked out a laugh. "You've manufactured it. You didn't build order. You built a cage. And now the bars are snapping." She turned to her board. "Anyone who wishes to resign may do so now. But let it be known, abandoning order in times of crisis is cowardice." That was her mistake. Because people were done being scared. Mrs. Langston, HOA treasurer, took a step forward. She'd been quiet for years. Always nodded when Karen spoke. Never objected. "I quit," she said softly. Then louder. "I quit, and I kept copies." Karen's head snapped toward her. Excuse me? I kept records, Karen. The invoices, the unapproved purchases, the security contracts that don't exist in the city system. I wasn't brave before, but I'm tired of pretending. Gasps rippled. Karen's veneer cracked. You're betraying the community. No, Langston said, pulling a flash drive from her purse. I'm protecting it. I walked up and extended my hand. She placed the drive in my palm like it weighed more than gold. Karen turned red. This is mutiny. No, I said. This is accountability. She tried to grab the mic again, but the board, what remained of it, stepped back. No one stood beside her now. And for the first time since this war began, Karen looked truly alone. The courtroom was packed. Karen strutted through the double doors in a blinding white blazer, oversized sunglasses, and heels sharp enough to puncture tires. In one hand, a glittered binder that read, "Freedom through order." In the other, a coffee mug that said, "Not today, chaos." She didn't bring a lawyer. Your Honor, she said, removing her sunglasses like she was stepping onto a talk show. I will be representing myself. No one understands the will of this community better than I do. I exhaled slowly, resisting the urge to laugh. The judge raised an eyebrow. Noted. Let's proceed. The prosecution laid out the facts. Surveillance photos taken through windows. Dossiers on children labeled visual threats. Financial discrepancies in HOA accounts, $11,000 marked as aesthetic emergency response training. Zip-tied minors. A tactical spreadsheet that labeled my daughter as a level 2 disruption. I watched Karen take notes on a pastel notepad that said Boss Energy. Then it was her turn. She stood, smoothed her blazer, and clicked the remote. A slideshow began. First slide. Dressing for decline, a statistical overview. Second. Leggings, lace, and the death of civility. The judge cleared his throat. Ms. Bellamy, this is irrelevant. Karen held up a finger. It's context. Napoleon once said, "You're not Napoleon, and this is not a TED Talk," I snapped. Karen turned toward me. You're the reason this community is falling apart. You incited rebellion. You led a misinformation campaign. And let's not forget, your daughter wore spandex in public after hours. I stood. She wore workout clothes after ballet, and you had her zip-tied. Karen jabbed a finger in the air. And that's why we need stricter enforcement. Gasps echoed. The judge slammed his gavel. Order. Karen wouldn't stop. I am the backbone of Crestwood. I've kept this place safe from joggers, neon colors, and unsanctioned backyard hammocks. You all should be thanking me. Silence. Then a whisper. Then laughter. Even the bailiff coughed behind his hand. I leaned in, calm but cutting. You didn't lead a neighborhood, Karen. You ruled it like a cartoon tyrant in yoga pants. She spun toward me. This is a witch hunt. No, I said. This is justice. Her binder slipped from her grip and hit the floor with a hollow slap. And for the first time, her voice faltered. I was trying to bring structure. The judge looked down at her with a flat stare. Ms. Bellamy, you brought chaos. He adjourned for recess. As she sat back down, shoulders rigid, hands shaking, I could tell. Karen knew the curtain was closing, and no clipboard in the world could save her now. By the time court resumed, the audience wasn't watching Karen with fear anymore. They were watching her the way you'd watch a fuse burn down. Silent. Focused. Waiting. She returned to the stand looking smaller. The white blazer now looked like a costume, stiff, out of place. Her binder stayed on the floor where it had fallen. The judge didn't even sit down before speaking. Ms. Bellamy, this court has seen the footage, the files, the financial discrepancies, the targeting of minors. You are hereby found. Karen jumped to her feet, interrupting. No, I demand a mistrial. This courtroom is biased, tainted by hysteria and... and low-grade fashion. Gasps, a few laughs, but no sympathy. She pointed at me. He used his daughter as a pawn to destroy me. I stood slowly, deliberately. You zip-tied a teenager. You spied on families. You used HOA dues to build a paranoid little regime, and you did it all with a smile and a clipboard. You weren't protecting order, Karen. You were feeding your obsession with control. She barked out a laugh. I maintained standards. This neighborhood was clean, respectable. Before you mean before people got tired of being afraid? I turned to the crowd. Before a child couldn't walk home from ballet without being treated like a threat? Before residents were labeled and monitored for wearing tank tops or having wind chimes? One by one, people nodded. Karen's voice cracked. You're all ungrateful. I made this place livable. A man in the back rose. No, you made it a prison. A woman near the aisle added. You made my daughter cry for wearing yellow. Karen spun toward the judge. I'm the president. He didn't flinch. You were. Not anymore. He looked at me. Mr. Reynolds, any closing statement? I stepped forward, voice calm, but edged with steel. This wasn't just about my daughter. This was about every person you tried to shame into silence. Every neighbor you humiliated. You ruled through fear, Karen. But fear only works until someone says, enough. I faced her one last time. And today, we said it. Karen's knees buckled. She sat without being told. Her blazer now looked too big for her frame. The courtroom stared, not with pity, but clarity. For the first time in her life, Karen Bellamy had no microphone, no stage, and no one listening. And in that vacuum of silence, justice finally echoed louder than her voice. 2 weeks later, I saw her again. Karen Bellamy walked into the county sheriff's department at 8:02 a.m. sharp, her posture stiff, her chin lowered. The white blazer was gone, replaced by a county-issued neon vest. Her sunglasses were off. Her hands, once manicured and full of commands, now trembled as she held a plastic time card and a trash picker. She didn't speak to anyone. She didn't make eye contact. She just clocked in. I leaned against the break room door, sipping coffee. Morning, Karen, I said evenly. She flinched, didn't answer, didn't look up. Good. It wasn't about humiliation. It was about visibility. She used to hide behind rules and bylaws, clipboards and fake authority. Now she walked the very halls she once ruled, as nothing more than another name on a timesheet. And out in Crestwood, things shifted. The community elected a new interim HOA president, Nana Green, a retired city clerk known for her fairness and quiet strength. First order of business: cancel every bogus citation, issue refunds, make the HOA budget public. The neighborhood tactical safety team was disbanded. Their golf carts sold at auction. The compliance vests donated to a local theater group for a dystopian play. As for Brad and his zip-tie brigade, community service, civics training, and a permanent ban from any form of neighborhood enforcement. Brad now hands out towels at the community pool. No headset, no clipboard, just sunscreen and a whistle. And me? I kept doing my job, serving justice, not chasing it, protecting people, making sure no one ever had to flinch when they saw a clipboard again. One Saturday afternoon, I was grilling ribs in peace. Emma sat nearby, finally laughing again. Samson, the dog Karen once labeled a visual disturbance, dozed in the sun. Nana stopped by with a homemade pie. You should have run for HOA president, she smiled. I chuckled. I already have a full-time job cleaning up other people's messes. Then, as if summoned by karma, Karen appeared, vest on, trash bag in hand, slowly walking the sidewalk she once patrolled like royalty. She picked up a crushed soda can, then a crumpled flyer. She looked smaller than I remembered. Emma noticed her. Should we say something? No, I said, eyes still on the grill. She hears it loud and clear. Across the lawn, kids played in neon colors. A woman painted her porch lavender. No one got cited. Karen walked past all of it. Past the freedom she once tried to strangle. No threats, no clipboard, just her. A vest, and a trash bag full of consequences. The air smelled like grilled ribs, cotton candy, and freedom. Crestwood's first real community celebration in years pulsed with life. Children chased balloons across the green. Dogs wagged freely without leashes of fear. Music floated from speakers that no one had to register. And no one, not a single person, held a clipboard. This wasn't just a barbecue. It was a funeral. A funeral for tyranny. Every folding table, every paper plate, every laugh that rang out was a nail in the coffin of Karen Bellamy's reign. Near the dunk tank stood a cardboard cutout of Karen, complete with her signature red blazer and a laminated clipboard. Someone had taped a citation to its chest that read, "Violation 13B, excessive joy." Kids lined up with beanbags. Each hit drew cheers. I stood by the edge of the park, sweet tea in hand, Emma beside me, Samson curled at my feet. Across the grass, neighbors talked like neighbors again. Not inmates, not suspects. And then, she appeared. Karen, same vest, same trash bag, same sidewalk she used to guard like it was a throne room. She didn't yell, didn't flinch, just walked slowly past the celebration, picking up candy wrappers and bottle caps. The very people she used to fine were now the ones she cleaned up after. People saw her, phones came out, but no one jeered. She wasn't worth the energy. I watched as she passed the dunk tank. She hesitated, just for a second, when a beanbag smacked her cardboard face and the crowd laughed. Our eyes met. I didn't smirk. I didn't nod. I simply watched. Rick, my deputy, appeared beside me with a lemonade. "You think she'll try to claw her way back?" I shook my head. She might. People like her always do. But this time, the neighborhood knows the law, knows what power should look like and what it shouldn't smell like. He clinked his cup to mine. So what now? I looked out at the families, the colors, the noise, the freedom. Now we live. We speak. We stand. And if anyone tries to rule with fear again, we shut them down. Fast. A gentle breeze passed. Someone strummed a guitar near the gazebo. A couple danced. 2 kids spray-painted hearts on the sidewalk. No one stopped them. Karen turned a corner and vanished down the path, hunched, silent, swallowed by a neighborhood she could no longer control. She wasn't gone, but she was finished. Because justice doesn't always look like handcuffs. Sometimes, it looks like a clipboard in the trash, a teenage girl walking home in leggings, and a whole town finally breathing without asking for permission. Justice doesn't always come in the form of flashing lights or courtroom verdicts. Sometimes, it walks quietly, wearing a neon vest, carrying a trash bag. Karen wasn't erased. She wasn't locked away in a cell. She was left to live, stripped of power, of control, and of the fantasy world she built on fear and fake rules. And maybe that's the real punishment. Because true justice doesn't just silence tyrants. It restores dignity to the people they tried to break. This story wasn't just about a clipboard-happy president gone rogue. It was about a father who refused to bow, a daughter who never should have had to fight, and a neighborhood that finally opened its eyes and found its voice. So what can we learn from all of this? Power is seductive, especially the kind wrapped in titles, procedures, and pretend authority. But power without empathy, without accountability, that's not leadership. That's tyranny in disguise. Karen used bylaws like weapons. She turned safety into surveillance, and she mistook silence for obedience. But the moment someone stood up, the moment one voice refused to back down, her empire collapsed like it was built on sand. And maybe you've seen a Karen like this before. Not just in an HOA, maybe at your job, your school board, even in your own family. Someone who thrives on control, who rewrites rules to serve themselves, and punishes anyone who dares to be different. If that reminds you of someone, drop their role in the comments. No names, just say boss, neighbor, in-law, principal. Let's see how many of us have walked through the same storm and stood tall on the other side. And if this story lit a fire in you, If it made you cheer when the crowd turned, or feel that surge when the badge came out, smash that like button so this story reaches more people who need to hear it. And hey, don't just watch and walk away. Subscribe to the channel, because we've got more stories just like this, of justice, resistance, and people who take their power back. One clipboard at a time. This wasn't just about a girl in leggings. It was about every person who's been labeled, silenced, or shamed for simply existing. And to anyone out there still afraid to speak, remember this: the moment you say enough, you've already won the first battle.